Hey, everybody, welcome to the ReCoop. I'm Cooper Daniels, and I'm a guy that knows a little about a lot. And today I am here with two guys. Well, one guy and a bear. I'm here with Dojo. He is a core team member at Pact, which is an AMM built on the Algorand blockchain. And also Austin Wilshire. He is a founding team member at xBacked DAO. How you guys doing?
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for having us.
Doing very well. Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone all around the world.
From all around the world, right? I mean, it's morning for you guys. You're based out of Australia, correct?
Yes, yeah.
That's right, mate.
I
But
don't know if
actually,
you can tell from our accents.
yeah, right. But something that I guess, because I'm from the States, so I know very little about anywhere else other than basically Los Angeles. But one thing that I've kind of learned is that there's like some pretty drastic time zone differences within Australia. That's right.
It's true. There is a pretty, depending on the time of year, it gets even weirder. So for example, we're on like the same time zone now, but recently daylight savings ended. And so one of us was in a different time zone, and then Australia is quite big. And so we span, I don't know how many time zones actually. I think it's like three or four, something like that. Yeah.
All right. Well, there we go. We talked about the weather. We talked about the time. Like this is, I'm nailing it. This is, look, you're on the ReCoop, guys. So anything goes. I got a bear here. Let's talk about the bear real quick before we talk about who you are. What's going on with the bear, Dojo? I love it, by the way. The stunner shades, it's got it all. But what's happening?
So I've been thinking about how to come out on video, on behalf of Pact over the past few months. The reason I want to not remain completely anonymous, because there's plenty out there, plenty of people out there in the community that know who I am and can connect the dots. I'm really keen to make Pact about the product, about the project, and really just sort of remain not behind the scenes, but just I want to glorify Pact, and I want to not have any sort of particular individual attachment to the project, because I see that as being something that can set it up for much longer lasting success.
I think so. I mean, I think not that this is a direct comparison, but I don't think Bitcoin is Bitcoin right now if we all know who Satoshi is. So I think there's a lot to be, we all in Algorand right now want everyone to be fully doxxed. We want your driver's license. We want a picture of your passport. We want to make sure, you know what I mean? But in the end, there's a lot of good reasons also for people to have some sense of anonymity. And also, I mean, come on, people are going to watch this and they're going to remember the bear. They're not going to remember anything about it other than being like, man, Pact's awesome. Did you see? Yeah, there it is. All right. So, okay. Well,
I'll be honest, it's turned out better than I could have hoped.
Yeah, no, it's looking really good. Is this is your work? Is this an app? Like, how do I do this?
No, so it turns out that in the year 2022, it's incredibly easy to get this up and running nowadays. If you have a computer with a decent graphics card, there's plenty of apps out there that can basically make this happen in a second.
Yeah, it's not so bad. All right. So, okay. Well, before we kind of dive into xBacked and Pact, how about you tell me, like, we'll start with you, Austin, a little bit about yourself and, how you came to, building this stablecoin and lending protocol and how you got to Algorand.
Yeah, definitely. So my story starts way back in primary school when I started building video games. And then throughout, my life, through high school, that sort of thing, got into web development and really enjoyed building products. I got a lot of fulfillment out of it. And so during uni, I worked at a few different SaaS companies in various roles, like front end, back end, full stack, DevOps, and then finally as a product manager. And SaaS products, right? I think the hard part is finding a very good idea and then iterating on that and making sure it solves a very good problem. When it comes to the actual product, I might get crucified for saying this, but when it comes to building it, it's not super complex. Like once you've built one, you can build a lot, right, as a developer, right? And so when I was sort of thinking about what comes next for me, I was thinking, what's going to be challenging, right? And so as a developer, I was looking at smart contract development and Web3. I was like, this is an entirely new paradigm, and I'm excited to get into that. And then when I like sort of look at it from a product management perspective and from building products, right, I was like, there's a lot to build and a lot of exciting products to build here that would deliver a lot of value to many, many different people. And so that is kind of part of the reason why Algorand was a really good fit at the time. Because back, not even too long ago, back in sort of June, July, there was not a lot happening. And now it seems like there is an insane amount of activity happening, which is extremely, extremely exciting. So there's a lot of opportunity for builders to come and build valuable products for the ecosystem, right? And you both know, like the community within Algorand is extremely tight knit, and they just want to see all the projects succeed and see the ecosystem succeed. So that's, I guess, a little bit of me and how I got into it.
That's how you got into it. And do you still build video games? Is that still something that you're trying to kind of?
No alpha there.
All right, good. All right. And so Dojo, how about a little bit about your journey to Algorand and to, helping, build this AMM?
Yeah, sure. I was thinking about this recently, sort of contemplating for myself. And I think I've ended up here because I don't like being told what to do or being told that I can't do something. I think that's my reflection.
Well, we're simpatico on that for sure. That's how I ended up here. I didn't want anybody to tell me what to do. So I feel nice.
You there. It's more not wanting to be told I can't do something, because I don't have the accreditation or the training or whatever it may be, et cetera, et cetera. So I spent almost 10 years working with enterprise financial markets software, sort of front to back, from all parts of that life cycle, order management, execution management, market data, trading, interfacing with exchanges all around the world. It was a big multinational company that gave me a great deal of experience working with financial markets. And that sort of has given me the insight into just how many stops and permission checks and layers exist from the end-to-end system, where, let's say, somebody wants to trade Microsoft. There are an unbelievable amount of stop points, along that journey, from someone placing an order to actually being able to execute that, whether it's on an exchange or at a market maker, or whatever the case may be. And I've been following crypto since that sort of 2017-ish era. Just dabbling, mainly in Bitcoin. I was always a bit of a Bitcoin maxi initially, and it wasn't until really the very early days of DeFi Summer where that came along, and the first iterations of an AMM came along, where, to me, it was the first tangible use case that we had for this wonderful technology. And particularly when the likes of Bancor and Kyber and Uniswap came along and presented this interface where you could trade, you could swap, and absolutely nobody could tell you not to. It would just happen, whether you liked it or not, whether anybody that thought they know better or knew better, it didn't matter. And that was just magical to me, and it was something that I really wanted to learn more about, really from that day. And I sort of suppose I've ended up here from that point, because that kind of magical realization of just how wonderful it was. But then being able to get onto networks like Algorand, where you can take it to the next level, because transaction costs and gas and things like that don't come into play. So it really it opens up the opportunities of what you can do with it. It just takes it to the next level.
Yeah. And I just want to jump on, like, that magic moment was something for me, like the barrier to entry, not just for users of these products, but for builders. At some point, it just went to zero, and you can go and build these products, deploy these products, and people can start using them. And I think that, to me, is the crazy part. And I don't think, like, I've tried to talk to developers, like, at SaaS companies and that sort of thing, like some of my friends, I'm just like, it sounds very obvious. Like, it sounds like very obvious thing. Like, yeah, of course these things exist, right? Like, I can see Uniswap, I can see decentralized stablecoins, I can see lending protocols, right? Yeah. But it's like, no, but you can actually, like, go and build that. Like, I don't know. For me, it's it's very simple, but I don't think a lot of people are getting it and realizing what that actually means long term. Well,
right. I mean, just the idea that, the world as we've kind of known it, there's all these gatekeepers and there's all these people that you're having to pay in the middle. And there's just a whole bunch of, just garbage stopping people from actually building. Or,
100%. And I think that's the dirty little secret of commerce globally. It's built upon middlemen.
So much. Absolutely. And then
just very few layers of value exchange along the way. And being able to really dive straight into a value exchange directly is just, to me, magical.
Yeah. And it's, and I think that a lot of people learned that lesson last year, really. I think we were all kind of living in this world where it's like, okay, I have a Schwab account or a Fidelity account. I want to buy Microsoft and I can just make it happen. Like, what are you guys even talking about? Like, I can press a button and get my little Microsoft and I'm good. But what we saw, I guess it was early last year when they just are stopping people from trading and they just completely manipulated the market. It's just like, these are the people who are in charge. So anyways, I think you guys are onto it, and cool. So, all right. So now we're here. You mentioned it last June, July, Austin. I mean, I was talking about Algorand then, but they're really, I mean, we really had to talk about was Silvio and what they built and, what we're hoping to come, and then CBDCs or something. But, we didn't even have Tiny Man there at that point, I don't believe, right? It was Yieldly was about to come. That's about it.
Yeah, exactly. And then, Tiny Man's testnet came in August, I think, last year.
Yeah. So not that long ago. And now we have, there's some stuff, like you said. Now there's competition. I mean, that's obviously that's going to be great. And I think, one of the things that I've been thinking about with now we have choices. Now we have Tiny Man, we have Pact, we have AlgoFi, we have Humble, or we will have Humble again very soon. And, there's more. There's Algo, Dex, and there's a lot of different things out there, a lot of choices. It seems to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the amount of liquidity in the Algorand DeFi ecosystem is lagging, which makes it kind of difficult, right? Is there enough liquidity at this point for all of these dexes, or are we, I think we're about to have more with governance and being able to, take loans on a governance and everything. But what are you seeing, Dojo, with the liquidity in the Algorand ecosystem right now?
Yeah, look, I don't think anyone in the space will beat around the bush at the moment. We're all going to come out and say we'd love to grow it considerably from what we have at the moment.
Yeah.
I think the TVL across Algorand ecosystem broadly at the moment is starting to hit, I guess, the limit of the funds and the early believers that are really Algorand diehards, and to grow and get escape velocity, we do have to attract external capital by evangelizing the ecosystem and giving people a reason to come in, and that reason to come in is
money
requisite. Yeah, well, it requires all of these building blocks that we're building to exist. It needs the money markets, it needs the dexes, it needs the decentralized stablecoins. Without those things in place, there's no reason, there's no carrot to come in. So I think we're in a good place now to start really championing that message.
Yeah. I mean, it seems to me that the foundation's on it with the Aeneas grants. And I think, like you're saying, also, like, you know, if I'm on Solana or wherever and I'm looking over at Algorand and I'm seeing like some crazy yield that I can get, that's going to be the carrot that's going to probably drive me from another ecosystem over in a lot of ways. But and I think that that's coming. And you both are actually from, you know, I'm not an expert on either of your protocols by any means, but you guys are both have really low fees. And like, you know, I know on Pact, LP providers keep 100% of the transaction fees. I know xBacked, your stable coin is going to have, you know, zero lending or zero borrowing interest, right? Am I right on that?
No, that has actually recently changed. So we're updating the homepage, which still says that. But we updated it because actually, due to the lack of liquidity and that sort of thing, we decided that it was better to have another lever to help control the demand and supply of xUSD. Because in a lower liquidity environment, the more levers you have to help maintain that peg, the better.
Right. Okay. So let's start there then. Let's talk about xBacked and how, you know, how close are we first? You're going through an audit right now, or you just recently completed your audit? Is that?
Yeah, so we're going through 2 audits at the moment with runtime verification and another auditor called Alarm Labs. And so that's due to finish quite soon. And then we'll be launching very quickly after that. So far, there's been no showstopper bugs that have been discovered.
That's great.
Which is really, really good.
When moon,
man. Man, look, if I had to forecast into the future, I think 3 months following June are going to be very big and very important for Algorand, due to all the projects launching. Yeah,
following June. So
I know.
September, I can do this. So in September, Austin from xBacked guarantees. No, I'm just kidding. But like
NFA.
Yeah. Okay. All right. No. All right. So, what's the value proposition here? What are we excited about with xBacked?
Definitely, yeah. So our mission is to be the most capital efficient stablecoin on Algorand and also the most stable, right? So those 2 things are really important to us because improving capital efficiency is going to help increase the TVL on Algorand. And it also means, like, a common argument against over-collateralized stablecoins is they are capital inefficient. And you see something like UST on Terra. There's a lot of FUD going around at the moment saying it's unsustainable, there's nothing backing it. Eventually, these things tend to unwind. And you saw that with USDN in the last couple of days, right? And so being an over-collateralized stablecoin does mean your stability, there's always a way to redeem, like especially for xBacked, our mechanism is redeem an xUSD token for underlying collateral for $1 always, right? For something like DAI, they have a mechanism which has kind of split the community a little bit, but they've got a mechanism where you can always trade DAI for USDC. So it creates a very, very strong peg there. And then Frax has different redemption styles as well and that sort of thing, because it's partially under collateralized, right? And Terra, UST is looking at this, buying up all the Bitcoin they can get their hands on to sort of start backing it if there was ever a massive cascading spiral, right?
Right.
So that's what we're focusing on. And you should be excited because the way we've architected the product is we should be able to move much faster than our competitors when it comes to introducing new collateral types to xBacked, right? Which means we can support a vast range of ASAs. Obviously, there's some requirements. We're not just going to support, Annie Rand and that sort of thing, We'll do a little bit of due diligence.
The LoudFi backed,
Oh, man.
Okay.
No, sir.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that's the deal, right? So what I can do is I can deposit, $5,000 worth of Algo into xBacked, and then I can take out I can take a loan of what is it called? It's called xUSD.
Yeah, xUSD.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's it. And then it's crypto backed. So I imagine Algo, Go ETH, Go BTC are going to be available out the gate, right? That's basically.
That's exactly right. And then after that, we'll be looking at liquid staking, right? So as you probably know, there's been a lot of people building governance into their protocols. You've got Guard, you've got AlgoFi, and you've got Folks, and soon you'll have Hone. Hone is like a liquid staking protocol.
Oh,
it's somewhat similar to Folks. The differences are a bit nuanced. But I'm quite excited because it's like Lido on ETH, and I think Lido is also on Terra and that sort of thing too.
Yeah. So I guess the key distinction is that it's a liquid token itself rather than a collateralized debt position.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And yeah, so for xBacked, I don't think we'll end up building governance into our protocol because we're just going to be competing with these other protocols that are already doing it. And the liquid staking protocols especially, they would be excellent collateral for xBacked, right? So we would be looking to take in that collateral into our protocol to grow TVL. So that's how I think about governance going forward.
Yeah, I mean, not to like single out AlgoFi, but they get a lot of good word of mouth. So there's nothing I can say that's going to damage them or anything. But one thing that I've noticed from my experience on AlgoFi is like, oh man, my stable is not as stable as you would wish. You know what I mean? Like I think a couple of weeks ago it got down to like 85 cents, and so I mean, I don't even know what my question is here, but like, what is the process here to like, how does AlgoFi get that to $1? I mean, or, how do you make sure xBacked stays at $1?
Yeah, that I think is a very good question. So I think liquidity plays a really big part. So the deeper your liquidity, the harder it's going to be to break the peg, right? And so that's something Algorand is struggling with and will hopefully get better as incentives come through and that sort of thing. So I think liquidity is one piece. Another piece of the puzzle is if there's selling pressure, right? So what people are likely doing with stable is selling into USDC or USDT and then using that to supply again on AlgoFi or something like that, right? So there's a selling pressure on a stablecoin, and you really don't want to be in that position because if people just mint your stable and then go and sell it for USDC to go and supply it on a money market, it sucks, right? And so we're looking to collaborate with folks. So very early on when we launch on mainnet, xUSD will be listed on folks. And so that immediately gives a place for people to go, cool, I'll mint xUSD, go supply it over there, right? So that's like one thing, and AlgoFi already has that because they're a money market. The other thing that we have that neither Guard nor AlgoFi have is a redemptions mechanism, right? So there'll be a floor to the price. There'll be an instant arbitrage that you if you're holding xUSD or you've bought xUSD on a DEX, whatever it is, you can just come to our protocol and redeem it, and you'll immediately get discounted algos, right? So there should be constant buying pressure when the peg is trading off, right? In theory.
Yeah.
And outside of that as well, we have a place where people can stake xUSD, which can be then used in liquidations, right? So from launch, there's a few different things you're going to be able to do with your xUSD that I believe will reduce selling pressure. I'm not sure if it'll solve selling pressure completely, but we have the mechanisms in place where it's like you shouldn't have to sell for USDC. And so the big thing will be driving liquidity to xUSD pairs, making sure they're deep, and making sure people, if they do want to trade between xUSD and USDC, it's not going to knock off the peg massively.
Right. So do you think like some of these Aeneas awards that are on AlgoFi are actually encouraging a behavior that is driving the price of stable down a little bit? Because, I can borrow basically free and then I can lend it back to make a and then you can really do this very safe kind of small amount, and do you think is that part that's contributing to it a little bit, right?
It's possible, right? And I know like they are looking at increasing the rate for stable.
They did, yeah.
Yeah. I guess that's already happened. Or is it happening again? They've done it twice.
Oh, I don't know. It went from 4 to 5 recently.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I'm thinking of. So they're very conscious of stable's stability, and I think they're also doing the right thing by incentivizing the LP pairs, right, with the AMM rewards. And stake your LP tokens for stable. Right, and that again should reduce selling pressure and drive liquidity up. But it'd be cool to hear how you think about this as well, Dojo, being on the deck side.
Instead of me and Austin talking about AlgoFi, how about we draw Dojo in and talk about Pact, because you guys have okay, I have a couple of questions, but you have some rewards. You have 1 million Algo that is going to be incentivizing your protocol, and I think that's going to start. Is that the 8th? Do I have that date right? The 8th that starts, or is it
correct? So it's starting tomorrow, depending upon where you are in the world. And it's going to run for 8 weeks consecutively. And we think that from the pool sizes we've got at the moment, the APR that is going to eventuate from these rewards could be quite lucrative. So we're pretty excited about what interest that might bring. And back to my earlier point, one of the reasons we strategized and made the proposal to the foundation to incentivize Go ETH, Go BTC, Go Mint, etc., is that we were really keen on attracting external liquidity that doesn't exist in Algorand at the moment. And now that we've got wonderful bridges like Algo Mint, we can really start opening the floodgates, or trying to. With a lot of the funds that partner with Pact, or that I speak to on a regular basis, they're really keen for these type of options to make use of their capital and liquidity, which is outside of Algorand. They don't want to go to their bank account and have a long drawn out process of sending US dollars to Circle and getting that onto Algorand and things like that. They just want to use what they've got. So we think this is going to be an effective strategy for us.
Right. Yep. And you guys are you're incentivizing strictly or specifically LP providers, right? So it's going to be the LP pools is where you can earn these rewards.
For this iteration of the Aeneas rewards, yes, it's going to be LP providers.
Cool. And so if I remember correctly, so the lion's share will go to Go ETH, Go BTC, Algo, and Go Mint, and then you have a partnership with Opulus, correct?
That's right. So we've got a strong partnership with Opulus. They were keen to try to incentivize particular Opulus pairs that potentially don't exist elsewhere.
Cool.
And we wanted to try and put set up something that would make that attractive for Opulus holders and for the Opulus business as it runs. So that I think 130,000 Algo for 8 weeks, which is it's a lot. That could be quite lucrative as well. So I'm not going to I'll do my hashtag NFA, but I'm personally going to try and direct some of what I've got into a few of these pools.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, from somebody that's watching this and does this as well. I participate. When I look at Pact, it's very compelling because for the 100% transaction fees, you guys aren't even taking any cut of that. And then now you have the rewards. And then there's also some community tokens too. Like I saw DeFi and there's one that you're yet to announce, right?
Yes. So there's, as you said, DeFi, who have been awesome. They had liquidity on Pact from the earliest days. They're a great project, a great team. And so it's really great to be able to give something back to them as well. And that's why we were quite keen to ensure that we had this little allocation for what we've called a community fund. We don't want to forget the the projects that are trying to grow from early days as well. We've got the Acorn.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The TBA project is partnered up, where we're actually just waiting on that because the partner has a bit of a surprise, and so we're going to be working with them to sort of amplify that surprise around that time. So so that will be nice. And I actually leaked this yesterday on one of our internal Twitter Spaces that we're running. But I think it's been pretty clear that our community fund is not big enough. So we're gonna make it a bit bigger.
Cool.
We're going to get a couple of other projects announced in that.
Nice.
And we
really. Sorry. So you're telling me that Yieldly has a big surprise coming? Is that what you're saying?
I can't actually comment on it, but
sorry,
but you,
I mean, we didn't. Unfortunately, that was a good thing. We don't get to actually see your facial expression to see if I was able to kind of coax that out of you. So
that's
good
why I have
job
to
on
wear the sunglasses.
That's why you have to wear the sunglasses. I love it. And I have to I've thought this twice now, so I'm just going to say it out loud. Did you have at any point, did you consider putting a gi on your bear as Dojo? I'm just wondering.
I did consider that, but it was relatively late last night when I got up and running, so I had to
It was a bit much. It was a bit much. All right. So okay, cool. So that's all very exciting. So when did Pact go live on mainnet, by the way?
So we went live February the 22nd,
right.
Which was an interesting time to go into mainnet when the majority of the world thought we were heading towards World War III.
Right.
So
yeah. I mean, it was hard not to be overshadowed at that point, I imagine.
Yeah, there was a lot of uncertainty, risk aversion, particularly, and flight to safety, with assets. So that was challenging at the time, but we are growing really well since then, and we've got quite a few partners that are still going to LP over the next week or so. Annoyingly, BTC Miami has wiped out all crypto people from working, it seems, for this week.
Yeah, they're all drunk on a beach
business
right
meetings.
Now.
Yeah, all their partying.
Oh yeah. They're all in many different bathrooms all across Miami. I'm having some fun. I guess that's a reference. That's a reference to cocaine, I think.
I think.
I think I was referencing cocaine. All right. So, okay. Another question for you. So, if you're, let's say, I'm, Choice Coin or something, like what's the why do I move my liquidity onto Pact? Like, or any ASA, really, any of these kind of smaller kind of community focused ASAs? What will draw me over to Pact?
So one of the biggest draw cards, without even mentioning rewards, is the fact that we've recently built out multiple fee tier pools, so that projects can create pools that differ from the standard 30 basis point fee. So so we've got a 1% or 100 basis point fee tier option, and what that can do is reward LPs for taking on more risk with more volatile coins. So let's face it, the ASAs that we have in the ecosystem at the moment are volatile, and so I think it's almost essential that all of those end up on a 1% fee tier pool.
Because there's no incentive to do it. Yeah, you're just going to lose money through all that volatility. Yeah.
Compared to a 30 basis point pool, there's a lot more upside from having it at the 100. Now, in addition to that, we are almost towards the end of an audit for some functionality that will coincide with all of those different fee tiers and make trading a lot easier and a lot cheaper for people. So we're pretty excited about the the upside both for liquidity providers and for traders, for this new feature that we've got. We're keeping everything pretty close to our chest because in this space, everything and everyone moves so blindingly fast that to have strong competitive advantages, you kind of have to build it and then announce it and then go for gold.
Yeah. When I had Michael Cotton on, he's our Meld Ventures is behind both of you, right? Am I correct about that? Behind Pact and xBacked?
Yeah.
So they've invested in Pact and xBacked.
Yeah. That was my question. That was the right way to frame that question. Anyways, when I was talking to him, I talked to him last week, and you had kind of mentioned September, Austin, and he had mentioned the 3-year anniversary coming up for Algorand, and that there was going to be some really cool incentives announced around that as well. So, I mean, I guess I mentioned that because Austin has me excited for September. Michael Cotton got me excited for like June, July. So it's going to be a good summer, right? It sounds like it's going to be a really good summer. What does, and we talked about it. You kind of talked about it with ETH and getting that money from ETH and Bitcoin over here. But what brings Algorand mass adoption? How do people finally come over here? Other than like what we did talk about, the yield and all that. But how do you think we break through this kind of community that really believes in the tech, but we're growing kind of slowly, it feels?
This is a question that's extremely close to both of Austin and I's hearts and every other builder in the ecosystem. We need a precise, directed, joined push from projects and the Algorand Foundation, because we need to make hype. We need to get the word out together all at once, so that effect is amplified. So Michael very validly referred to that mainnet anniversary as a likely period that it could be a good base point for us all to join forces and really strongly amplify that message.
And I think on top of that, I think the user experience of like the base protocols that have launched, like the actual web interfaces, are pretty good. Like they're up there with other ecosystems for sure. But I think where Algorand is also lagging is in the wallet experience, and also obviously something close to Dojo is ledger support, which is preventing like big money whales and that sort of thing of feeling comfortable interacting with DeFi on Algorand.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the big bummers that I've run. I was excited about using Guard or AlgoFi or folks, but it's like I can't use my this is my governance bag. Like I want to be able to use my ledger, and it's frustrating.
Well, folks, their ledger, folks governance, that's ledger compatible, so that's good to go. But I'll let Dojo continue.
I was literally just going to back up the fact that all of us want to be using ledgers where possible, because it's safer. It's not just you, it's not just the whales. It should be most people, really.
Should be most people. Yeah. And you do run into that a lot. Is it because of teal? Like is it or is there something?
It's actually something that we're fixing. So I have been for all of this year I have been trying to work out who owns the ledger application and who can team up to sort of fix it, and who would have engineering skill set to be able to do it. That process was a big almost circle jerk, because I ended up exactly back where I started, realizing, hey, if I want this fixed, I'm just going to have to make it happen. And so we went and hired a very talented embedded systems engineer, and we are going to fix the ledger integration for everyone, because the ecosystem needs it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And we haven't actually touched on Austin, the DAO aspect to xBacked. So what's the vision there? Yeah. How does that?
Fantastic question, because I think as well, like that's something where Algorand is lagging at the moment is lack of DAO tooling, right? I think Prismatic.
I was gonna say.
So Natalie at Prismatic, like she's great, and I think Prismatic's going to be awesome. So Prismatic is going to bring like DAO treasury management tooling to Algorand pretty soon, I think.
Yeah.
And so that's going to help extend growth again, because there'll be DAO treasuries or project treasuries, whatever, that'll be able to start using DeFi in a more secure way and in a more integrated way as well.
Right.
And then for what we're building, right, we're going to be building out an on-chain governance system that'll be probably ready towards end of Q3, Q4, right? Because it's not our core product, but it is important that we start launching that as soon as we can to start decentralize the decision making and that sort of thing.
Just on that point, Austin, I think it's important to call out so that everybody understands. Some of the things that we're all trying to do are a little bit slower because a lot of the time we have to stop and build the things that are not our core focus. You know, on Austin's point, he has to sort of divert and build out some tooling and things like that maybe aren't the core products, but it just needs to happen. So that's why things can be a little bit slower than we'd all like.
Yeah, I mean, when I talked to Algo Oracle, for example, he actually started trying to build a betting app, and then he realized that he couldn't without an Oracle, so he had to build the Oracle first before he could do the betting. So he could do the betting.
Yeah.
Anyways, yes, I think
a lot of that. So yeah, we're looking to build out not just DAO tooling and DAO contracts and that sort of thing for us, but also that the community can run with, and once it's open source and that sort of thing. Because over in other ecosystems, it's as easy as forking Compound's governance contracts, MakerDAO's governance contracts, or just using something like Aragon to spin it up and that sort of thing. Like there's so many primitives and so much code there that people can just use, and they're often running, where it's like, okay, we've got to write all of that code and deploy it on Algorand, get it audited, all that sort of thing. So yeah, like I'm really excited to bring what I think is a fairly unique governance system to Algorand. And it's just more modern. It's not like the sort of, I would say, typical structure that we've seen from MakerDAO, Compound, that sort of thing. We're looking at extending that much further, which I'm super, super excited to talk more about. Once it's built, to Dojo's point.
I mean, on that point, before I press record, and I'm going to put you guys on the spot a little bit, forgive me. But before we press record, you guys were kind of had this back and forth about being like, oh, should we say this? Or wait, what do we, Austin was kind of like, Dojo, should I? And then you guys, are like, I think you settled on the fact that you were definitely going to say it. So what, is there anything for us to look forward to? Any hints you want to give us on something that want to dangle anything for us? Any teases?
Look.
You go, Austin.
You both said look at the same time.
I was just going to say that June to September period is going to be very, very critical. And I think there's a lot of exciting things coming there. And I think an exciting thing that's coming, I'm pretty sure this is public, but Algorand is like releasing a basket token for their bridge, right?
Yeah.
And so
talked about that.
Yeah. So I think that is extremely important for bringing across that liquidity. I don't know, Dojo, is like, what do you want to add there?
From my perspective, I'll cover this on two fronts. One is that we see Pact being the specialist AMM. We don't want to try and take on everything in DeFi, and do everything all at once. When Austin was talking about xBacked and stablecoin pegs earlier on, that's his specialty, not mine. So we at Pact and some of our partners, we see what we can do together in partnership being a lot bigger than the sum of our parts. So I think that's the little alpha league to keep in mind for June, July, August, is that we're not approaching this, or I'm not approaching this to figure out how Pact can succeed in isolation. We're approaching this, how can we team up to come up with something that is really, really helpful, reward heavy, and attractive to users collectively. So I think that's the way we're going to position.
Sounds right. So it sounds like to me, and you said it, I'll just recap it a little bit, but it's the sense that you guys are at Pact are doing something very well, and then Austin and everybody at xBacked is doing something very well, and then Natalie at Prismatic, whatever, however this goes around, and you feel like instead of Pact trying to do everything and be the go-to place for all things, you're best specialized and teaming up a bunch of great teams together, possibly to create something that is superior.
I think that's what makes sense to us, and from the discussions we've had with other people, other builders, other investors, it makes sense to them too. So we're pretty excited, but by the next 3 to 6 months, and what we can do as a project and what we can do as a community as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, again, just think back to xBack's mission, right? We want to be as capital efficient as possible for the ecosystem. And there's a lot of room to play there, and we can be quite aggressive with that and plan to be. So I guess that's all the alpha you get out of us, Coop. But I think definitely the specialists, it's going to be the specialists versus the generalists in a way, right? And then it's really interesting on Algorand, right? Because other ecosystems evolved quite organically, right? Maker was building a decentralized stablecoin. Aave was building a lending protocol. Uniswap was building a DEX, and Bancor and Balancer and that sort of thing, right? What's happened is there are a lot of projects coming to Algorand trying to, I'll use the words just copy and paste, and I'm guilty of this. I'm building an over-collateralized stablecoin with twists. And so people are bringing over these ideas, and all of a sudden you have 5 to 7 to 8 to 9 DEXs or something crazy. You have several launch pads coming and that sort of thing. So there's going to be this period on Algorand where there's going to be a lot of projects doing similar things, and not everyone can win, right? Only the best projects can win when you're playing like that. So I think that's going to be... I think that's going to be hard for Algorand, actually, because everyone's going to get caught up in trying to make succeed what's already worked elsewhere instead of innovating on top of it, right? Because over there is like all this organic stuff that's happening. And on Algorand, we need the base pieces. We need the DEXs, we need the money markets, we need the decentralized stablecoins, right? After that, right, it's time to start expanding on those models and start playing around with what we can do and how far we can push Algorand's technology.
Well, it seems like we're in this kind of early innings or early stages, and we're getting past that beginning stage. But there was this time not very long ago that certain teams probably came and were like, okay, we're doing this, but they're like, well, nobody's doing this, and we could do it, and then we could do this too, like, and then then you spread yourself thin, like maybe or you don't, or whatever. But I'm seeing the vision here. So, all right, guys. Well, is there anything that we didn't talk about? Anything else that we should be looking forward to? Is there anything in particular that you're you have some NFTs, right? What's going on? Was it xBacked or Pact? Pact, you have the NFTs, and you burnt some NFTs.
Yeah. So we had a big mint. We minted 10,000 NFTs to reward our early testnet participants. Now there were less than the 10,000 eligible that ended up opting in and uptaking the NFT and things like that. So we last last night burnt 3,500 of them ish.
Oh, cool.
So we've got a nice little bounty of NFTs at the moment, and we are going to incorporate them over our product roadmap in the long run, and we anticipate they might become quite valuable in and of themselves. We did it as a thank you. For us it was art. It was a thank you giveaway. But it's not something that we want to do and drop and forget and say, cool, we sent our art and that's it. It's something that we're going to circle back on and really align with our core product as well.
And forgive my ignorance, I think I was winding it down, and then I just thought of another question. So if 100% of the transaction fees are going to LP providers, where is how is Pact making money in keeping it going, and where's the capital coming in from?
Yeah, look, it's a good question, and it's a question asked on one of our AMAs recently. I think if you reflect back to the TradFi world and the traditional software world and traditional world of forming companies, and in that world, it's the norm that projects take, companies take a while to find product market fit, to actually hit recurring revenue, become profitable, etc. I don't think crypto is any different. So I don't think projects should necessarily be striving to generate a massive treasury from day one. They need to establish a brand, establish credibility, really sort of validate themselves as being a strong product. We will definitely make future development and iterations that will have a much more revenue aligned model. But for now, Pact is about rewarding people who want to provide liquidity, who feed the system. So in the same way that it works for Uniswap, I think if it's not broken, then don't touch it to a certain extent.
Yeah. I'm old enough to remember when everybody was like, oh, Amazon doesn't make any money, Netflix doesn't make any money. And that changed, didn't it? Yeah, because you got to get the people.
But sometimes it takes a while to get to that point.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, hey, look, this was really fun. I'm going to be using Pact more often. I'm excited about xBacked. And so you guys are winding down your second audit. And so I think you've said you expect to launch in Q2, right?
That's exactly right. Yeah. So once our audits are done and any issues remediated, we'll be good to go. And
will xBacked be getting? I guess it would be clear that you would. Will you be getting into this kind of the governance, the Algorand governance, and be an option for governors and all of that?
No. So we're just planning to pull in the liquid staking collateral types and that sort of thing into our protocol because, again, we're focusing on building a very stable stablecoin and not focused on governance, right? Like other protocols have taken care of that problem. It's our job to funnel that TVL into xBacked and beyond.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you, Dojo. Thank you, Austin. And I look forward to, if you guys ever want to come back on, you're always welcome.
Yeah, thanks so much. I will, because I had a blast.
Yeah, it's been super fun, Coop.
Yeah, cool. All right, guys. Thank you so much.
See you, mate. Bye.
See ya.